All right, so get this. Today's deep dive takes us into, well, so West Coast LLC.
Okay.
You weren't kidding about wanting some inside scoop. We've got business plans, we've got marketing strategies. I even saw some internal documents in the stack.
Yay.
Someone clearly wants us to get to know this company.
Yeah, what's interesting to me looking at all this is, it's not just about what they do, but how they think about doing it.
Hmm.
This isn't just like a company overview someone printed off their website.
Right.
This is like someone wants to give us a peek behind the curtain of a very specific entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get lost in the weeds, let's start with the basics.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think this SWC Playbook full document, this seems like as good a place to start as any. So West Coast LLC, from what we see here, launched back in 2008 in Los Angeles.
Okay.
They call themselves a business that builds businesses.
Mm.
I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, to say the least.
It is. It is.
Have you ever encountered a business model quite like that?
What's striking to me is just the sheer range of services they offer.
Right.
I'm seeing everything here from like website design, online marketing. They're doing legal assistance, like full branding packages.
Yeah.
It's like they're aiming to be a one-stop shop for like anyone who's ever had any kind of entrepreneurial dream.
And it's not just like they're offering all these services, but they go into detail. I mean, we've got hourly rates, tiered pricing packages. They've got this whole build a brand program that honestly has me a little curious. And then you've got, I mean, they've got everything from Google Ads to live broadcasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost overwhelming.
That's the thing, right? I mean, is this reliance on such a vast array of services, is that a strength? Or is that like a potential pitfall?
That's a good question.
On the one hand, it speaks to adaptability.
Right.
They're clearly willing to meet a variety of market needs.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's incredibly difficult to be an expert in all trades.
That's true.
So can they really excel in so many different fields while maintaining a high level of quality across the board?
Right.
That's the question, right? That's the question we should keep in mind.
Yeah, and just when you think you're starting to get a handle on like their business model,
Yeah.
you stumble across this line in their West Coast orientation. Oh, what's that?
And I quote, because this is directly from the document, "When life gives you lemons, that's so West Coast, we make lemonade, then we use the seeds to grow lemons."
Huh,
I mean, what does that even mean?
well, I mean, it's definitely memorable, right?
It is.
Maybe that's intentional, right?
Yeah.
Is this like a quirky mission statement? Are they
Right.
trying to inspire a certain kind of go-getter attitude? Or is this a glimpse into like their actual internal motivation tactics?
Right.
It's hard to say, I mean,
Yeah.
but it definitely makes you wonder what kind of company culture they're trying to build.
So you're saying this could be like a motivational tool or a marketing tactic,
Mhm.
or maybe even both.
It's possible, right? I mean, it's like they're being intentionally ambiguous.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Speaking of ambition.
Yeah. Let's talk about their marketing goals.
Yep.
They're aiming for 100,000 website visits a month.
Ambitious.
I mean, is that even realistic? Especially given what little we know about their team so far.
Their stated goals are
I was going to say.
ambitious is a good word for it.
Yeah.
They're also aiming for millions of online views. They want a massive social media following. It's all in here.
Really?
Yeah. And they lay out this whole multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
Google Ads, they want to blip social media, online commercials. They even mention like live broadcasting. They're really trying to cover all their bases.
So multi-pronged approach for those of us who haven't, really dived into the world of marketing. What does that actually look like?
So essentially, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're diversifying their marketing efforts across various online channels, which makes sense.
Right.
It's a common strategy. But the key is whether they can actually execute it effectively.
And do they have the resources to pull that off?
Exactly.
Because they did mention a relatively small team, actually, and they seem to rely a lot on interns.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting too, right? Because on the one hand, that could be a sign of a lean, cost-effective business model.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it also makes you wonder about the consistency,
Right. Right.
and the potential for, burnout among the people actually doing the work.
So true.
It all comes down to execution, right?
All right.
Can they achieve these massive goals they've set with this kind of lean team structure, or are we looking at a classic case of overpromising and underdelivering?
It's a good question.
That's something we're going to have to look at.
Yeah, we're gonna have to analyze that further as we dig deeper into these documents. So they've got this ambitious, multi-pronged marketing strategy.
Yeah.
A small team to execute it, supposedly.
Right.
Let's talk about what they're actually selling. I mean, we touched on it earlier, but these documents really lay out their service offerings in detail, and it's kind of a lot to unpack.
Yeah, maybe it's...
What's interesting here to me, I think, is it's not just about like building businesses for themselves, but it's about building a network.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about commissions, franchise opportunities.
Right, right.
It seems like they want to scale up really, really fast.
Yeah, all about like rapid growth.
So instead of just, doing one-off, offering services to individual clients, they
Right.
want other people to replicate their model.
Exactly.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah. I mean, it's a valid strategy. It's a high growth strategy for sure.
Yeah.
But it requires, robust support, quality control for franchisees to actually succeed.
Yeah.
And so West Coast is aiming for that kind of rapid expansion. They're going to have to make sure that they can maintain some kind of consistency, provide the support that these franchisees are going to need to actually make this work.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, building a successful franchise network is not easy.
Not at all.
And that just adds another layer of complexity to their, already kind of ambitious business model.
For sure. For sure.
This deep dive is already proving to be quite a roller coaster, and we're only, how far into these documents are we?
I don't know, but...
I'm kind of scared to see where they want to be in 5-10 years.
I mean, from what we've seen so far, I wouldn't expect anything less than extraordinary.
All right, well, let's take a look, shall we?
Let's do it. Well, get ready, because their 5-year plan is, get this, they want to reach a valuation of $1 million.
Okay.
$1,000,000.
That's a lot of zeros.
And hold on to your hats, because in 10 years, they're aiming for a $25 million valuation.
Whoa, $25 million in 10 years.
Well,
Okay, that's not just ambitious, that's a whole other level.
It is.
Is there, do we see anything in these documents that even hints at how they plan to pull this off?
So their plan hinges on establishing 100 individual brands.
100.
With each brand valued at, are you ready for this? $10,000 within 5 years, and then a whopping $25,000 in 10.
100 brands. That's a lot of brands. Do they give us any specifics about these? What are they even going to be called?
It's an interesting mix, to say the least.
Okay.
We're talking names like crankthefuckup.com, gangstaytv.com, and Cushmasters College.
Okay.
And those are just the ones that, we can say on the air.
Those are certainly choices. It's
Yeah.
like they're going for every single demographic all at once.
Yeah.
Is there any indication that this kind of scattershot approach to branding is actually going to work?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're really prioritizing quantity over quality here.
Right.
At least when it comes to, the sheer number of brands they're trying to launch.
It kind of reminds me of that lemonade from Lemons line.
Right.
It's like they're just trying to squeeze every last drop of potential out of every single idea they have.
Yeah.
But is that sustainable in the long run?
That's a great question. And it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain any kind of, consistent brand identity and quality control across it's an incredibly diverse portfolio.
Yeah.
Especially while, relying on this lean team and this franchise model.
Right.
It's a lot to manage.
So, okay, so to recap. So West Coast is this company with a vast, almost dizzying array of services. They've got this unique company culture,
Yeah.
these incredibly ambitious growth targets, and a brand strategy that honestly feels a little all over the place.
A little bit, yeah.
It's almost like they're trying to be the Swiss Army knife of entrepreneurship.
I like that. The Swiss Army knife.
But is that even possible?
Right. I mean, it's a risky strategy, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a real chance they could be spreading themselves way too thin.
Right.
And if they're not careful, that could lead to a lack of focus. It could compromise the quality of, even their core offerings.
It's like that classic saying, biting off more than you can chew.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's pure genius.
I mean, it's hard to say at this point.
We'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
What do you think, listener? Have you ever encountered a business model quite this, I don't know, sprawling?
It's unusual, that's for sure.
So West Coast the real deal? Is this like a cautionary tale?
Or maybe both.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch.
For sure, for sure.
It's like they're building the plane while they're flying it, but instead of one plane, it's a whole fleet of them, and they're all going in different directions.
Yeah.
If you were like thinking about, I don't know, hiring West Coast for something,
Right.
what would you what would you be looking for to figure out if these guys are legit?
That's the real question, right?
Yeah,
Because their whole approach, this whole dominate all markets thing,
right.
it's intriguing, but it's also, I mean, it's a gamble, right?
It's a big gamble.
Can they really maintain the quality of their core offerings while at the same time launching all these other brands, managing this growing network of franchisees? It's a lot for any company to handle,
Yeah.
let alone one that's relying so heavily on a small team and a bunch of interns.
It's true. It's like they're almost like a case study in making the impossible possible, or at least
Yeah.
attempting to.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think, listener? Does this approach resonate with you at all?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Is it like refreshingly bold? Is it recklessly ambitious? Or is it, maybe a little bit both?
Probably a little of both.
Right.
It's hard to say.
Well, I think it's safe to say, as we kind of, start to wrap up this deep dive into the world of West Coast LLC,
Yeah.
we're left with more questions than answers, which I guess is kind of how these things usually go.
It's true.
Are these guys, are they pioneers of like a new wave of entrepreneurial hustle? Or will their story, 5-10 years down the line, will it be a cautionary tale about, the dangers of unchecked ambition?
I mean, I think only time will tell,
Yeah.
but regardless of the outcome, their story is definitely, it's valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it gives us all these insights that are relevant for anyone who's trying to, make their way in the business world.
Yeah.
It makes you question these traditional approaches.
Yeah.
You have to think about this balance between ambition and execution. And maybe most importantly, you should never underestimate the power of, a good, or in this case, a very memorable lemonade recipe.
That's a good place to leave it, I think.
I think so.